Hello YouTubbies and welcome to episode 5 of Game Idea Talk. Today we stick once again to the topic of Egypt, but with a little twist in it. Today I present to you a game I call Anubis Race. The idea of this game is the following. Combine the fun of typically a kart racer focused on multiplayer like Mario Kart and combine it with the equally enjoyable fun of modern and classic board games. In our example, Labyrinth. Yes, you remember the board game in which the field was entirely changed now and then? Well, why not using that strategy? In a kart races like Mario Kart, often obstacles appear in front of you, or you run for a small exit through an area. Also, you sometimes get super drives, bananas or other items to make the other player's life a living hell, to the very joy of everyone of course. But what if you could change the whole track? When your opponent leads against you and you can just change the turn left into a turn right, with him crashing into the wall of a suddenly appearing building. What could be even worse, in Anubis Race the Egypt god himself may randomly change the track with divine power, leading to the entire players changing their goal. Interestingly enough, the course may very well be more open than the Mario Kart circuits, leading through ancient Egypt markets, along temples or even up a pyramid. Naturally, this game involves multiplayer racing game elements just as well as the board classic components to collect options, to change the field well or hear the track, hence it's a puzzle game too, I assume. Fairly easy to describe, right? As mentioned earlier, ideas were taken from the Super Mario Kart games, just like any racing game or even a game like Rocket League. The board game Labyrinth is heavily involved and naturally we use the Egypt setting for further detailed description. Because who wouldn't want to race up an Egyptian pyramid when suddenly Anubis changes the track and forces you to drive back the entire track? Let's face it, sometimes the gods are against you. The joy and multiplayer effect of these games need no mentioning. However, the Egypt setting is clearly brought into the mix of Mario Kart and Labyrinth in order to give a certain setup. This setup calls for races along pyramids, the Nile River or even underground passages with Anubis' very own creatures. The options are plenty. To be quite honest, we had races before. The setting is certainly not new and Labyrinth is from 1986, which means it's older than even I am. What is new so? Well, we or even Anubis himself changes the track. How often do you play racing games that change the track while you drive on it? Well, little hint to the Formula 1 makers. We don't talk about the usual left or right, or shorter or longer path. We talk about seriously suddenly standing in front of a wall, driving through houses of people or falling down the entire path up a pyramid. This game had the option to, for once, randomly through Anubis and secondly, change the track by hand, perhaps even exactly like in the original board game Labyrinth with a fixed layout, should make people be interested in such a nice multiplayer game. This itself explained enough how it works. How it feels to play it depends on who makes it, and if they do. Which is fairly interesting. Who should build it? Well, I would call out this time to Activision Blizzard for that one. Why? Well, their development team is big enough, and they probably never tried such a thing, so why not? Perhaps we had insult to injury and add Volition Inc., the makers of the Saints Row series, into it. If that is not calling for severe gameplay twists, I don't know who else could bring them. What is left to say or ask? The game itself drives fast until a wall, changes everything and certainly is very enjoyable. Naturally, the racing character is a little disturbed by the idea to change the tracks as there is no more I am a good driver or I am good in this game feeling for the player anymore. It simply becomes too random to determine whose skill would favor which player. Then again, this totally and utter feeling of suspension and the excitement to wonder what happens next time you drive around this corner, mixed with a broader track system that makes you feel like you drive in an open world racer. Something like that never existed, I believe. Well, it certainly is something new in the genre, if it is made one day. Your take-home message of today? Think about if you would like to play such a game. Add in the comments below what you would add or change to the concept. Who else could develop it according to your ideas? Which other racers do you like and what is the reason for that? Any other board games you would like to see being mixed into a video game and why is that so? Of course I greet all the makers and ideas of the studios and games I mentioned in this episode. Keep working nicely and think about making more games that have one big purpose, making fun. Oh, speaking of which, next episode is not about Egypt again, but it is, well, even more old school than you would ever expect in this video series. Trust me, just wait for it.